10:53 p.m. Wednesday. You're not scrolling. You're doing the math again. Open the bank app, the one you check more than your messages. Checking. Savings. That brokerage account you funded once, full of good intentions, and haven't opened since. Now subtract, rent, car payment, the credit card you swore you'd pay down this month, the insurance that quietly went up in January, the loan from 2 years ago that's somehow still here. And there it is. The number. It doesn't add up. Not for someone earning what you earn. You haven't gambled it away. There's no disaster, no single moment you can point to and say, that's where it went wrong. Just a normal life, lived responsibly, and almost nothing underneath it. You close the app. Tomorrow, you'll open it again. It'll say almost the same thing. This isn't poverty. From the outside, it doesn't even look like a problem. You work, you pay on time. You're not the person blowing money on something obvious. But the account never moves. The tightness in your chest never quite lifts. And somewhere underneath all of it, a question you can't fully shake. What am I actually doing wrong? Here's the part that should unsettle you a little. That question has an exact answer. A number, even. And it's almost never the answer the personal finance world gives you. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what that number is for you, and exactly what it turns into over the next 30 years if nothing changes. Stay until the end, because the gap between those two outcomes is bigger than you think, and it has nothing to do with how much you earn. Here's where almost everyone gets it wrong. They'll tell you it's discipline, track your spending, cut the subscriptions, stop buying things you don't need, and the math fixes itself. So you try it. If you're watching this, you've probably already tried it. The spreadsheet, the rules, the genuine commitment to be more intentional this time. It lasts about 3 weeks. Then a rough patch hits. A bad week at work, an expense out of nowhere, a few days where you're just exhausted. And the system you built starts feeling like punishment for something that wasn't even your fault. The restrictions stop feeling like progress and start feeling like deprivation. So, without one dramatic decision, you quietly stop. The old pattern slides back in exactly where it left off. And now it's worse, because it's not just a money problem anymore. It feels like proof you can't follow through on anything. But here's the thing nobody tells you. It was never a discipline problem. What's actually running your finances is a default, a direction your money moves in every single day, automatically, without you ever consciously choosing it, built from habits formed years ago, systems other people designed to take your money, patterns so routine they've become invisible to you. And that default is aimed slightly wrong, not catastrophically, not obviously, just enough that nothing ever builds, just enough that the number never moves. You're not failing. You're running a system that was never adjusted. And here's the uncomfortable part. The people who build real wealth aren't smarter than you, don't have better salaries, and don't have more willpower. They just have a different default running in the background. And a default, once it's set correctly, runs without you having to think about it at all. That's the entire point of this video. Let's stop talking in theory and put real numbers on the table. Median household income in the US right now sits around $78,000 a year. After taxes, that's roughly $5,200 to $5,500 landing in the account each month. Fixed costs, rent or mortgage, car payment, insurance, utilities, minimum debt payments usually eat up somewhere between $3,000 and $3,800, which leaves $1,400 to $2,200 a month. That is, technically, yours to direct. The month finds it anyway, every single time. Not through one big mistake, through 100 tiny ones that never feel like decisions while they're happening. the $18 delivery fee on a night you were too drained to cook, and that's more than once a week, if you're honest. The 3 streaming subscriptions, 2 of which you've actually opened this month. The gym membership that renewed in February while you were out of the country. The Amazon order that felt like a need, but was really just a Tuesday afternoon, and you needed to feel like you controlled something. The "it's only $12 more a month" upgrade you clicked without thinking, $144 a year, that will never show up in a budget because it already feels like a fixed cost, baked into the background of your life. None of it registers as a choice in the moment. Each one is too small to set off any alarm. But stack them across 30 days, and the Federal Reserve's own data on consumer finances tells you the result. The average American household ends the month within $200 of its income. Not because the income is too low, because spending expands to absorb whatever room exists. When researchers track this transaction by transaction, actual spending data, not what people guess they spend, the gap between what people earn and what they actually keep lands somewhere between $10 and $18 a day. Not reckless, not irresponsible, just undirected. Money moving without anyone steering it. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Run that number forward. Take $13 a day. Don't park it in a savings account paying 0.5%. Put it into a broad index fund. The S&P 500 has averaged close to 10% a year before inflation over the last 50 years. Adjust for inflation, and you're realistically looking at about 7%. That's not optimism. That's decades of recorded history. $13 a day, growing at 7%. Year 5, just over $27,000. Year 10, roughly $68,000. Year 20, approaching $245,000. Year 30, over $490,000 from $13 a day. Nothing else about your life changes. Same apartment, same job, same morning. Just the direction of money that was already leaving your hands anyway. Now plug in your real number, because $13 is almost never it. Most people who actually trace where their money goes, not where they think it goes, but where the bank statement says it goes, find the daily drift is closer to $35 or $55. Run $45 a day at 7% for 30 years, and you're not looking at a slightly nicer retirement account. You're looking at $1.6 million, built from behavior you're already doing, just pointed in a different direction. Same city, same income, same starting point. The only variable that changed anything was direction, held steady, long enough for the math to take over.
Here's the part the personal finance industry would rather you didn't think about too hard. Because if you really absorb this, half of their products stop making sense. You cannot fix a default with willpower. Not long-term, not reliably, not ever, really. This isn't a hot take, it's been tested. Psychologist Roy Baumeister's research on ego depletion at Florida State University found that self-control draws from a limited mental resource, one that drains over the course of a single day. Every act of self-control, every temptation resisted, every instance of overriding what feels good in the moment to do what is good for you in the long run, requires using up some amount of a finite resource. By 8 p.m., after a hard day, the version of you that confidently committed to a budget that morning is running on fumes. So the default wins. Not because you're weak, because defaults don't get tired, and you do. B.J. Fogg at Stanford's Behavior Design Lab spent years studying exactly this. Why motivated, intelligent people consistently fail to keep up financial habits. His conclusion was always the same. People wildly overestimate the power of motivation and wildly underestimate the power of environment. The behavior you're trying to change was never really the problem. The environment that makes the wrong behavior effortless, that's the problem. That's why every New Year's resolution is dead by February. Not weak character, bad architecture. So, what do the people who make this look effortless actually do differently? They didn't get more disciplined. They rebuilt the environment so the right behavior became the automatic one, and the wrong behavior became the one that required effort. They moved the ground underneath themselves, and once the ground shifts, the default shifts with it. The internal fight just disappears. Not because they got stronger, because there's nothing left to fight.
So what does this actually look like, day to day? 3 moves. That's it. First, the morning anchor. Right now, your phone is the first thing you touch, and within 60 seconds, it's already shaping what you want, before you've made a single financial decision. Before any of that, open one screen instead. Your actual balance. Look at it for 90 seconds. No spreadsheet, no judgment. Just the real number in your mind, before anything else competes for your attention. Sounds too simple to matter. Do it for 2 weeks and watch what shifts, because every decision that day now happens against a number you actually saw, not a vague guess you've been carrying for months. Second, the transfer that fires before you can talk yourself out of it. Not what's left at the end of the month. That money is already spent in your head. This moves the morning your paycheck lands, before the account is touchable for anything optional. Set it up once, on a calm day. Then it runs every cycle. It doesn't negotiate. Within 6 to 8 weeks, you stop even noticing the smaller number, the same way you adjusted to taxes coming out before you ever saw the money. This isn't a trick. It's architecture. Discipline gets engineered out of the equation entirely. Third, the 10-minute Sunday review. Once a week, look at where the money actually went. Not to punish yourself, just to see the pattern. The $14 coffee run every time you're anxious. The takeout that's quietly double what you guessed. Within 2 or 3 weeks, the trigger reveals itself. And here's the strange part. Just knowing you'll review it on Sunday changes how a purchase feels in the moment it's happening. You don't need to fight every decision. You need the consequence to feel real before it, not after. At some point, you won't know exactly when, this stops being something you do and becomes something you are. You stop trying to save money. You become someone who saves money. The morning check stops feeling like discipline and starts feeling like instinct, the way you check the weather before walking out the door. The transfer stops feeling like a decision. It would feel wrong to switch it off. Neuroscientists keep landing on the same number. A choice becomes automatic after roughly 60 to 90 days. After that, it stops costing you anything mentally. It just runs, the same way every deeply held identity runs, without daily maintenance. 90 days of unremarkable mornings. That's the entire price of admission. Your financial life 30 years from now, already being produced by the default you're running today, whether you think about it or not. Pull up your real average monthly savings. Run it forward at 7%. That's where you're headed. Now, run the second version. That same money, redirected starting this month. Same income, same job, same city. Just pointed somewhere else. Look at the gap. Most people find it uncomfortable enough to want to close the tab. Sit with it anyway. Because here's what nobody tells you. The change itself isn't hard. The transfer takes 9 minutes. The morning check takes under 2. This isn't a transformation. It's a setup. Done once, on a day your head is clear. So tomorrow morning, before anything else touches your phone, Open the account. Just look. Set up the transfer this week. Give it 90 days. The direction compounds. Everything else follows from that.